Hello, I'm Francesca Simone from Sarasota Pen Women, and I'm here at the Ringling College of Art and Design in Sarasota to see the Petticoat Painters exhibit. And I have with me one of our members from Sarasota Pen Women, Jana Millstone, who has two wonderful paintings that are on exhibit. And when I walked into the gallery, I was just stopped dead in my tracks seeing this painting, not knowing that Jana had done it, because we have so little time in our society for silence, and it's one of the things that we really need. So Jana, could you tell us how this creation came about?
Certainly. This is a painting, part of a series called Veil, that's about women living under oppressive regimes. And the idea of silence, the actual name of the painting is Silence as a Verb, meaning to silence, to oppress, to not allow the voice of an individual to enter the world. The writing is taken from the American Civil Rights Movement, from the suffragette movement, and from poems of the Arab and world. So it's a collection of speech on the subject of not being able to speak your mind, to tell your story. So it's as much about people being silenced as people not being able to allow others to voice their feelings and their personal truths.
And what was the inspiration for this piece of work?
The whole series is about oppression and the idea that people can't verbalize what their truths are is really what has driven it. But this one in particular takes advantage of all of the speech, all of the talk that has been made by various leaders of these various movements. So it's not only about the fact that people are without voice, but there's a quotation from Martin Luther King in this particular one saying it's not the things our enemies say, it's the silence of our friends. So there's something very caustic and yet really poignant about the idea of silence throughout all of these movements, the fact that women have had their voices suppressed for so long, and even now in many, many countries that trial goes on. So this was a compilation of many of the poems that I had read that had moved me on that subject.
It's very neat. What technique did you use?
This is acrylic. It's acrylic on a panel, and everything that's here is painted on a very fine brush. It took a long, long time not only to do the painting, but also to collect the research, to read lots of quotations and lots of poetry for it.
Well, it's a very powerful piece, and I tell you, it absolutely stopped me in my tracks.
Thank you.
Let's take a look at your second painting. If you can tell us what was the inspiration for this painting and the technique that you used.
Again, the technique is acrylic. It's layers and layers and layers of very, very fine acrylic painted on and layered on. In this painting, I wanted the idea of voice, again, not being heard because there's a layer of a veil. So that when women who wear niqabs and veils are not visible to us, we're also not visible to them. So the idea of this shading between people to block humanity and block conversation and block understanding is a theme that goes through all of these paintings.
I love the balloon.
Yeah. Well, it was the idea of an illuminating light, very much like the lights and the metalwork that you see in Tunisia and Morocco. And the idea that you're kind of seeing a figure, you're kind of seeing a projection of that figure made larger, although the figure itself is small, and it all being illuminated, but there's still this veil and the idea of nails or pegs creating this barrier of communication. which is the essence of the veil paintings.
As soon as you said Tunisia, I could begin to see that Middle Eastern pattern start to show through the painting.
Thank you.
And usually when I think of a painting, there's the idea that you don't want anything to show through.
Right.
But you were able to accomplish that technique, and what do you think that lends to the painting?
Well, I think the idea of layers is very important because the whole concept of communication is a layered enterprise, and the fact that the more layers, the more likelihood of obscuring meaning for another person to understand your plight.